Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. In my episode of Canadian Content yesterday, I did mention the Napanee and the Goodyear announcement that was put forward by all kinds of politicians from the region, federally and provincially. I didn't listen to the announcement. I got it from a couple of articles. I put it together by gleaning what people had written about it, and I didn't hear some of the questions that was put toward Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford. So the question of the tariffs on the aluminum came up, and Justin Trudeau, true to form, just lashed out at the Conservatives over it. I don't understand the psychology behind the liberal mindset, where on the one hand, they want you to believe that if it's good, they're responsible for it. But on the other hand, if it's not good, then it's somebody else's fault. And of course, it can't be Jagmeet Singh's fault, and it can't be the Bloc's fault, so it's got to be the Conservatives to blame. But if you are on the one hand telling yourself that you're the one that's in charge of it all, then the good with the bad, right? So what kind of mind is that not only does that, but then tells themselves that you and I are so uneducated, so uninformed, so unable to draw our own conclusions that we'll believe it like we're, 4-year-old children or something. It's kind of insulting, if I'm honest. And I'm going to show you a solid, it was a simple question, and the rant that this guy goes on for a solid 2 minutes. Before I get into it, though, I would encourage you all to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all of your friends.
And my follow-up is just for the Prime Minister. Last week, steel and aluminum CEOs and opposition leader Pierre Poilievre called for the federal government to match the U.S.'s tariffs on China. Why has Canada not moved on this yet?
Well, first of all, it's a bit of a joke that Poilievre is suddenly talking about workers in the auto industry. He has said repeatedly that he wouldn't be making these investments in our auto industry. He wouldn't have invested. He'd be cutting our investments in EVs, in building an extraordinary EV supply chain in Canada, something that we've been doing as a government in partnership with the government of Ontario and others right across the country over the past 4 years in a deliberate strategy. Bring in Volkswagen, bring in Stellantis, invest in Honda, invest in the EV supply chain from mines to manufacturing and recycling. We have been there every step of the way, and the federal Conservatives continue to say they'd cut it all. They don't support it. They don't believe in investing in Canadian workers. So him to suddenly turn around and say, oh, we're worried about EVs, that's baloney. He's looking for a political angle because that's all he does. But in regards to the CEOs and the steel manufacturers and the partners in the industry, I can tell you, for the past many months, we, alongside Minister Mary Ng, our Minister of Trade, have been working with stakeholders, working with community groups, working with international partners on making sure that Canada's EV advantage remains. Canadians have invested in this future, and we're going to make sure that we follow through on it. So Poilievre jumping in front of the parade or trying to is just silly. We have stood up for Canadian workers in the auto sector. We will continue to stand up for Canadian workers in the auto sector. We will continue to make sure that we're using all necessary tools to drive a greener, cleaner economy, which means great manufacturing jobs here in Canada, more opportunities for Canadians. This is a conversation that we've been having for months, and we will continue to have to make sure these investments we are making that Poilievre would cut are well protected for the future.
So that mumble salad, that word salad, that rant and tirade went on for nearly 2.5 minutes. It was a simple question. What are you going to do to match the tariffs that the United States have imposed on Chinese steel and aluminum? Because Chinese steel and aluminum is very inexpensive because they don't follow any environmental practices and they don't follow any labor laws. And he went off on Pierre Poilievre. But if you listen, you'll see he did not in any way, shape, or form answer the question. He, in fact, avoided answering the question. And then he tried to throw up some appeal to authority where it was like, oh, well, me and Miss Singh have been talking to people. But if you were talking to people, then why are those people talking about matching the tariffs from the United States? Let me explain something that you may not be aware. The reason that all of those car manufacturers are coming to Southern Ontario was because the Ontario government offered them a buttload of money, because it puts them in a very strategic location. If they go one direction, they go into New York State. A lot of people in New York, if they're going to be able to sell a Volkswagen in New York, that'd be great. If they go the other direction, they can go right into the Midwest and into the Western United States. Why do you think Ford puts all of his trucks there? And if they want to reach other markets, they can put them on a boat and sail it out through the Lake Ontario and up to St. Lawrence. It's not about whether or not he encouraged them to come in. The reason that car dealerships have always been in Southern, or car manufacturers have always been in Southern Ontario, is for the same reasons that they're there now. Because we have access to the raw material that they need to build the car, and they geographically can drive the car to all of their hotbed locations, California, New York, Florida, and other regions. They didn't do it for Justin Trudeau, and they certainly didn't do it for me and you. 2.5 minutes he went on about Pierre Poilievre and how Pierre Poilievre is just trying to jump in front of the parade, which I don't even really understand that term. But I think what he means is that he's somehow trying to take credit for something that Justin Trudeau did, which is bizarre because I don't really see that Justin Trudeau did anything. Yeah, he enticed a lot of companies and he gave them a lot of money, but they have since changed their mind. Those exact same companies have changed their mind. So when he says to you that he's invested in the future, when he says to you that he's made all of these investments in the EV game, they are in fact not materializing. So he's made he's empty words. And those empty words are why he can't talk to you about the Chinese steel tariffs. Those same empty words are why he said, oh, we've made investments in Ontario and across Canada. But really, you've only made investments in Quebec and Ontario when it comes to EV. And all of the ones in Ontario have fallen through. And I'm sure the ones in Quebec will begin to start to deteriorate as well. Because the market that they came here for was the United States. And the United States is turning away from the EV. And as a result, the manufacturers of those EVs are turning away from the product. That's what he doesn't want to tell you, or maybe that's what he doesn't understand. Either way, I can tell you that it wouldn't be long until the same tariffs are put on Chinese steel coming out of Canada into the United States. But that's what I did a video about a few videos ago, where I talked about how you can now bring cheaper Chinese steel into Canada, put it into a Canadian product, and then sell it in the United States under the guise of it being Canadian, even though it's technically made in China. And so to protect our industry, to protect our workers, to protect our country, those tariffs must be imposed on Chinese steel and aluminum. Because the Chinese steel and aluminum is made at half the cost or even less for all of the standards that they don't have to meet. Right? If you want Canadian smelters to meet all of these standards, then I'm afraid you're going to have to let them be competitive in the market. Mr. Trudeau. I mean, you're the one that's talking about everything going green. Well, they're not going green in China. So they're still just burning coal to manufacture this steel. Anyway, that's a different video on the manufacturing of steel and aluminum. What is important is that he didn't answer the question in any way, shape, or form. He just went on this rant about Pierre Poilievre, which indicates to me and you that he doesn't have an answer. Which indicates to me and you that he's trying to avoid the answer by throwing up a smoke screen, by throwing up, it's like the magician who distracts you with one hand while he does the trick with the other. Except he's not a very good magician, and by now we all know what they're up to. We can see right through it. Give us a straight answer, or admit that you don't have an answer. But stop trying to create fear and division in this country, because we have enough of that to go around as it is. That's just my opinion. You can leave me your opinion down in the comments. All right, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.